Okay, now this will be our executive director's last meeting. Ray Belisle is leaving the board, and at the conclusion of today's meeting, we will have a reception, actually some time to say some things about Ray, say our goodbyes, and there will be a reception following. Okay, and Karen?
Good morning. The board met in closed session and received updates from their attorneys in William versus the State Board of Education and Chapman versus the California Department of Education. They also considered Tinsley versus the State of California and approved an order eliminating a report in a settlement agreement. They also received an update and gave directions to their attorney in the case of Esposito versus the State of California. Additionally, they adopted a process for the selection of an executive director and in the interim appointed the chief counsel as the acting executive director.
Okay, some housekeeping here. The W4 and W27 have been withdrawn, and item 17 will be heard today. And then we just want, for public comment, it's limited to 2 minutes. And now we're on to item 41. Terry Burns.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members.
Good morning.
Well, over the Capitol, it's all over but the shouting as far as the legislature is concerned. They've done all of their work and sent it on to the governor. Everything is now in the governor's hands. Good news from your perspective. Former board member Brent Gottfried last meeting expressed some skepticism about the chances of the bill you endorsed, but AB 1897 by Assemblywoman Reyes requiring student board members did pass. It is on the governor's desk. So we've sent again a letter expressing your support and the superintendent's support on that. The STAR test program was reauthorized in SB 1448, 6-year reauthorization for grades 3 through 11 and 3 years for grade 2, allowing us some time to make the case to a skeptical legislature that grade 2 testing really is important. Cleanup legislation, AB 2413 Diaz, is now on the governor's desk. Correct a number of drafting errors in 1448 and apply the STAR test sunset dates to the primary language assessment. We consider the bill very important despite it not yet aligning the second grade sunset to 6 years as the governor had originally requested. There are a number of drafting error problems in SB 1448 that are significant to have corrected this year, and we'll continue the effort to bring grade 2 into alignment next year. Categorical reform made some headway. There are 2 non-competing bills on the governor's desk, AB 825, which became the home for Senator Alpert's comprehensive reform effort that used to be SB 1510, and AB 1650 by Mr. Semidian, which addresses teacher support and development. The Alpert Firebaugh measure consolidates, effective next year, 22 K-12 categorical programs that share similar characteristics into 6 block grants: pupil retention, intensive supplemental instruction, school safety consolidated competitive grants, teacher credentialing, targeted instructional improvement, and school and library improvement. Additionally, AB 2152 by Assemblywoman Goldberg creates a pupil achievement program. It will consolidate a number of programs in those areas and is in conflict with the Alpert Firebaugh bill. So we'll have to determine how that all shakes out if both are signed. The Goldberg bill will allow districts flexibility in the use of those funds and requires them to direct a large percentage of those funds to decile 1 through 3 schools. In the first year, 70% of those funds. By the 4th year, 95% of those categorical funds would go to decile 1 through 3 schools. Additionally, there are some bills in your packet that have been identified that you may have some concerns about on the governor's desk, including AB 1846 by Ms. Goldberg that transfers designation of the state educational agency authority and title for No Child Left Behind from the state board to the superintendent of public instruction. AB 2744 by Goldberg requires regular review of the content standards 2 years before any subject level adoption. So that's just a regular review and reopening of the standards. And finally, SB 1380 by Mrs. Scutia that requires your board to annually solicit recommendations from school districts regarding materials for adoption and requiring that adoption unless the board makes specific written factual findings. So that's the brief run. We will give you an update at the end of September when the governor has signed bills and let you know what's become of all of these things on his desk. There are a plethora of measures there and plenty to be done.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind everyone that Glee Johnson, Don Fisher are legislative liaisons, and what we'll do, they're going to work with staff, direct staff to come up with some legislative proposals we'll take to the governor, and we'll discuss that in November.
The superintendent has taken positions on each of these bills. My sense is that you would probably want to have a greater discussion of that. I know that your board will be divided on some of these issues and some of them probably significantly clear on. I would anticipate that your board would want to support AB 2413 by Diaz. As I say, the drafting errors in SB 1448 create some problems with the testing program that are worthy of correction, and I think that you could do that consistently as a board. Otherwise, I think you would want to have greater discussion before taking a position, just knowing your board. He has until the end of September.
Statement to Richard Costigan telling him our position as to what to do here, and if we don't do that, pardon?
I was just waiting till you were finished, and then I was going to
Well, maybe. So where are we on
Okay,
that?
here's where we are. Glee is up here a lot, and I've been working off and on with her on some of them because they come quickly, and sometimes, like 2413, we have weighed in. Remember, a while back, the board adopted legislative principles, and we've used those principles. They're not dissimilar from the education principles you looked at yesterday, and we've used those, I have, as a guide for when I weigh in through the administration on bills. So we have been doing that. On 2413, reauthorization, it was actually cleanup of the testing legislation. We've been actively engaged in making sure that that maintains your testing system. We've also been actively engaged in 1380, the Escudia bill, and a whole host of others, 2744, the Goldberg bill. And today, the administration will be sharing with me a list of all the bills before the governor so that we have an opportunity to weigh in on those bills consistent with those education principles. That's the direction that you gave me, and we'll be doing that today. And if you would like, you're certainly welcome to go through those with me. I have staff gathering all of them right now so that when I'm done with this and cake, then I'll be looking at all of those bills. So I know it's a little under the radar screen, which is, and it happened so quickly, but I want to assure you that that has been happening. And I think what Ruth was getting at is something that you've been pushing for a long time, and I think for good reason, and that is to be proactive rather than reactive. And throughout this board meeting, and with the help of Bonnie, actually, she's kind of zeroed in on each of them, you've come up on the natural with some great ideas for legislation. And so what I think Ruthie was saying was that you and Glee, along with the board staff, should put those together. And I've got notes on all of them, so I'll leave those with, I kept a list. And so that you could talk about those in November, you could develop some language so that you get it to the administration in a timely fashion before the session starts, which really you've got through January to do that.
But in all these, are you going to make a written statement to the legislative?
Yeah, Don, the governor has asked Ruth and Ray and Glee to give written positions on whether to support or oppose the 100+ pieces of legislation dealing with education, and as well to weigh in on suggested veto messages on the veto ones.
Okay. As long as we do it in writing, that's fine. Great.
All right, thank you very much, Terry. All right, on to item 42.
Good morning. I'm Larry Shirey, School Fiscal Services Division. This morning you have two items on the proposed unification of the Wiseburn Elementary School District in LA County. The first is a public hearing and action on the environmental effects of the unification. We, as lead agency for unifications, you are also the lead agency for the CEQA process. We have to hold a public hearing, and then we have given you a negative declaration that we're recommending that you adopt. So the first order of business is to hold a public hearing, open a public hearing, and this will only be for the any environmental impacts that on the proposed unification proposal.
High school, which is a foreseeable result from this reorganization action that you're taking today. The failure to analyze cumulative impacts is a failure to comply with established CEQA case law, and therefore the document as it stands today is legally inadequate under CEQA. Thank you.
Okay. Any more speakers on this? Okay, public hearing is closed. Okay, and then to deliberation.
Right, we have presented in your packet a proposed negative declaration that we're recommending that you adopt.
Okay. Second by Ruth. Okay, and the motion would be to adopt the negative declaration, which reflects no environmental effect as recommended by staff. Who seconded that? That was Ruth? Okay, Bonnie second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. And one abstention, Joe Nunez. Thank you.
Now we're moving on to the actual presentation on the unification proposal itself. On the screen is a map of the current organization of the high school district, focusing on Wiseburn Elementary, which is proposing to form its own unified school district. We've included on there, to the right side of the screen, the names of the 4 component elementary districts that comprise Sentinel Valley High School District and their enrollments, just to give you an indication of relative size of the districts there. We're now looking at the proposed district organization. Should Wiseburn unify, it would pull away from Sentinel Valley Union High School District, leaving 3 component elementary districts. And again, the names and numbers on the right-hand side indicate the surrounding unified school districts and their enrollment, again to give you an idea of the relative size of the school districts there. Before this proposal ever comes to you, it goes through a fairly extensive local review process through the county. This particular proposal was initiated by voter petition. 25% of the voters in the Wiseburn School District signed a petition to unify that district. That petition was then sent to the County Superintendent of Schools, who validated it, then sent on to the County Committee on School District Organization. The County Committee then held public hearings within the boundaries of the Wiseburn School District. There are 9 minimum standards that have to be met by any unification proposal, any reorganization proposal. LA County Office of Education conducted a study on and made some recommendations of those 9 conditions. We'll go over those in a few minutes. And then what came to you is a recommendation of the LA County Committee on School District Organization. That's what we're looking at right now, their recommendation. The 9 conditions are up here. We'll go through those quickly right now and indicate the recommendation made by the County Office of Education and the recommendation to you by the County Committee. Adequate size is the first condition that needs to be met. In this case, a unified school district needs to be more than 1,500 students. County Office recommended that it's met, found that it's met, so did the County Committee. Oops, sorry. The next is there has to be a sense of substantial community identity. Both the County Office of Education and the County Committee found that there was a substantial sense of community identity in this unification proposal. The third condition is that there needs to be an equitable division of assets and obligations of the high school districts. The County Office recommends that the condition is met with a condition, and again we'll discuss that in a few moments. The County Committee found that that condition was not substantially met. Excuse me? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Bill?
We'll discuss that in a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, that's it.
The fourth condition is that the reunification will not promote segregation in any district. Again, the county office and the county committee both found that that condition was substantially met. It shouldn't have any significant increased cost to the state. Again, both found that substantially met. The sixth condition is that there are no negative effects, no substantial negative effects on educational programs. Again, both the County Office of Education and the County Committee are recommending that that condition is met. The seventh condition is that it won't increase cost of facilities in the area. And again, both agencies found that met. The eighth condition is that the proposal is not designed to raise anyone's property values. And the final condition, ninth condition, is that there are no significant negative fiscal effects on any of the affected school districts. The County Office of Education found that, was recommended to the County Committee that that condition was met. The County Committee found that it was not met. Now let's take a look at the conditions that caused some local concern with the unification proposal. First is the issue of equitable property division. For the LA County Office of Education, the primary concern here is with the repayment of a $59 million general obligation bond that was passed by the high school district. There are no high school facilities that exist within the Weisburn Elementary School District. What that means is, for repayment of the bond, is that after unification, property owners in Weisburn will have no responsibility for any of Centinela Valley's existing outstanding bonded indebtedness. Generally speaking, if they don't get any of the facilities, then they carry none of the debt that's associated with the facilities. Again, there are no high school facilities in the elementary school district, but the elementary district does have 40% of the high school district's assessed valuation. So what that means if they unify is that the property owners in Centinela Valley, in the remaining part of Centinela Valley High School District, will have to have significantly increased responsibility to repay the bond. In other words, their taxes are going to go up because 40% of the assessed valuation, 40% of what used to pay off the bond is now gone. The County Office of Education made a recommendation that their solution to that was to recommend that this equity condition is met if the remaining Centinela Valley Union High School District voters have an opportunity to vote on the unification proposal. In other words, they get an opportunity to vote on a condition that would raise their taxes, raise their property taxes. Again, that's the LA County Office of Education's recommendation to the County Committee. The County Committee had a somewhat different, took a somewhat different view on the issues. They found that two of the conditions, as you remember, were not met. The first condition was that there was not an equitable division of assets and obligations. They felt that pulling 40% of the assessed valuation away from the Centinela Valley High School District was not an equitable division of property. They also found that there was no significant negative, they found that there was a significant negative fiscal effect on the high school district. Again, that's related to the loss of 40% of the assessed valuation. Their concern is that this loss represents a negative financial effect on Centinela Valley because it would decrease the bonding capacity of that district, and that would make it more difficult for the district to obtain local funding for any future facilities needs. Excuse me? In the remaining Centinela Valley High School District, the taxes in the Weisburn area of the high school district would go down under normal circumstances. We're going to talk about a provision that we're recommending that you. If Weisburn unifies, it will drop any liability for bonded indebtedness of the high school district. With the removal of 40% of the assessed valuation, the remaining 60% of the assessed valuation now has 100% responsibility for the outstanding bonded indebtedness of the high school district. Therefore, with a lower tax base, same debt load, the property taxes will go up for the remaining property owners in Centinela Valley. The remaining
Larry,
portion of Centinela Valley.
that is talking about the LA County Committee recommendation. That's
Correct.
not the way it would be under your the department's recommendation.
No, we have not gotten to our recommendation, and getting ahead of ourselves, we're recommending that you add a provision to the proposal that would maintain existing levels of repayment of bonded indebtedness, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm still talking about the LA County Committee recommendation to you. No, it's not a typo. We're talking about two conditions that are not substantially met. One of the conditions is that there are no significant negative. It's a double negative there, and it's somewhat confusing. But, okay, any other questions? Even though the county committee found that two of the conditions were not met, they voted overall that the proposal met the 9 standards, and they're recommending that you approve the unification proposal. And they're also recommending, though, that you expand the election area to the entire Sentinel Valley Union High School District. Now we'll turn to our recommendation to you on the proposal. First of all, we disagree that assessed valuation is subject to the equitable division of property condition for the same reasons that facilities are not subject to that condition. As we've mentioned, there are no high school facilities in Wiseburn School District. Even though there are high school students there, and even though a significant portion of the funds that were used to build and renovate those schools were generated by property in Wiseburn School District. For us, that's not an issue of equity, and nor has it been raised as an issue of equity by any of the districts or the County Office of Education, for the reason that the Education Code is very clear that facilities are part of the territory being transferred. They belong to the territory. And what we're saying is assessed valuation is treated the same way. It's part of the territory. You cannot separate assessed valuation from the territory. However, we can and we do examine the effects of pulling these things away from a district. You know, we look at whether or not the movement of facilities has any negative effect on has any significant effect on the cost of facilities. Similarly, the issue has been raised regarding an issue has been raised regarding the loss of assessed valuation to the high school district in terms of the financial effect it will have on the high school district due to the corresponding loss of bonding capacity. In other words, the question is what happens if the high school district can't raise enough local funding through bonds to meet its future facilities needs. For us, that question really isn't a significant negative financial effect on the district. There are a number of mitigating concerns that need to be taken into account. First of all, the high school district has already passed a bond 4 years ago. Second, over time, bonding capacity is going to go up as assessed valuation rises and as the existing bond is paid down. Third, if the voters in Sentinel Valley High School District, the remaining Sentinel Valley High School District, do pass a bond, the district can come to you to waive the bonding cap that currently exists with the district. And finally, what we're recommending is that you add a provision to the unification proposal that effectively removes about 40% of the existing liability from the current bond in Sentinel Valley Union High School District. In other words, the Wiseburn property owners will continue to pay off 40% of the existing Sentinel Valley bond. There are a couple of results of that. As I said, property owners in the district will continue to repay existing bonds at the current schedule. Wiseburn School District will have some financial responsibility for facilities they cannot use. You know, they're paying off a bond, but there are no facilities in the district. The bonds, of course, are used to finance facilities. But on the other hand, there is no increased tax rate for Sentinel Valley High School District property owners, those that remain in Sentinel Valley. So our recommendation to you is that all 9 of the conditions are substantially met. We're recommending that you approve the unification proposal, and we're recommending that you set the election area for the Wiseburn Elementary School District if you include the bonded indebtedness provision that we just discussed. If you don't include it, then we're recommending that you expand the election area to the entire Sentinel Valley Union High School District. We've offered a couple of resolutions for you. Attachment 2 addresses the setting of Wiseburn as the election area, and Attachment 8 is a resolution that addresses the whole high school district as the election area.
Do the kids from Wiseburn go to Sentinel Valley High School?
They currently go to Sentinel Valley High School.
So they're taking advantage of that high school, and they're paying for it too.
Right. Currently, they are using the facilities. of the high school district.
And they will continue to.
Under unification, they won't. They could for up to 4 or 5 years, while, depending on how Wiseburn handles setting up a high school program. But after unification, the assumption is that Wiseburn will be educating its grade 9 through 12 students and will not be using any of the existing Centinela Valley High School District facilities for that purpose.
How would then, under this proposal, the Wiseburn High School be funded? Would Wiseburn then need to come up with the additional resources to, I'm sorry, I assume Wiseburn is wanting to create its own high school. How would that be funded under this proposal?
They have an empty school site right now that they'll use. Their level of their bonding capacity will double because they'll become a unified school district. Right now, high school districts and elementary school districts, their bonding capacity is 1.25% of their assessed valuation. As a unified school district, Wiseburn's bonding capacity will double to 2.5%. So they'll have an increased bonding capacity. Plus, they already have the facility. They already have the site that they've identified for their initial high school. All property that's not facilities will be divided based on some equitable means. We're recommending in the report that it all be divided based on ADA.
There's a statement about the facilities in the sense that there are evidently, I don't know if it's 15 relocatables right now or portables, that there is some housing available, I suppose, on this empty site you were talking about or unused site. But there's sort of a qualifying there that I was wondering if you could expand on a little bit that said that there appears to be enough housing for the number of kids that are anticipated, assuming that they meet the Title V qualifications, but in the LA, I guess the county office opined or said that they do meet the Title V standards, and yet you sort of hesitated on that. Is there some?
Well, the only hesitancy is we were just relying on the county office report. We didn't actually conduct that analysis ourselves.
Is there reason to worry about it? I mean, I guess.
We don't think so, no.
Okay.
If it's just, it's like a little safety net comment.
This was a really difficult issue for me, especially knowing people in both districts. And I had to look at it very carefully. There are certain things that I think are just no-brainers for me, and that is, number one, that if we were to remove an area and form a new unified district, the bonded indebtedness needs to go with that new area also. It's not fair to Centinela to require them to absorb all of the cost. I think that recommendation was well thought out and significantly addresses the issue that we talked about as far as negative impact in many ways. The second thing is that in approving this, what we're saying is we're allowing them the opportunity to go to their voters.
Correct.
And so the voters are going to be the ones in that community that will ultimately decide whether they want a new unified district or do not want a new unified district. So what we're doing is looking to see, is this going to have a negative impact on student achievement, student learning, student facilities, and on those communities? My gut feeling is that while I have sympathy for what's going on with Centinela and not wanting to lose part of that, by allowing the new district to absorb the responsibility for the money that they need to pay, the 40%, by allowing them to vote as to whether or not they accept that responsibility for this new district, then that community is making the choice as to what they want for their students. And since I can't find anything in these conditions that you say are not being met, I have a hard time finding a way to vote against this proposal and allowing them to go to their community and take a vote.
Okay, what I'd like to do now is finish the staff report and then save board comments until after we've heard from both sides. Right. That's a better way to go. So Larry, why don't you continue and then.
Well, my staff report's done. I'd just like to make I'm here for questions now or after the public hearing that's coming up.
Okay, so why don't we then move on? Okay. All right, we're going to open the public hearing. I'd like to inform that speakers for each side have 30 minutes for their presentation and then 5 minutes for rebuttal. So we will call for comments from proponents for 30 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm thankful to be here. It's been a long process since 2001 when we started this. My name is John Peterson. I work for the Air Force. I'm a federal government employee. But most important, I'm a parent. Lydia Rodriguez is one of the other chief petitioners who's not able to be here because her employer said she has to be there to work, and she has to make sure that her project of training gets done. She wanted to be here today. And our school district is 108 years old. A lot of the facilities in Centinela Valley have been paid by us. There is nothing new in Centinela Valley. We've tried to have public access. And then when this initiative started off, and we'll talk very briefly on all the options we looked, but we decided to go with the petition for 25% because we realized what was the best outcome for our children. And with that, we had support from our school board. I'd like to introduce Brian Meath, who's the president of our school board. Brian. And with that, our school district supported us. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Don Bryan, who's the superintendent. Don, he's going to introduce the technical team in case there's any technical questions, because most of us are just parents. Don?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. And thanks to the staff for their diligent work on this issue. I first came to Weisburn in 1953. Over a half century ago. I was in the 3rd grade then. And it's a real joy for me to be back 12 years now as the district superintendent. It's a very special place, the kind of place that people love. We brought students here today to talk to you briefly, but we also have some staff here to answer any technical questions that arise. And I'd like to introduce them now. If there are any questions in the area of operation of a small high school, curriculum and instruction, type questions related to assessment or staff development. We have a consultant that works with our district. Dr. Terry Green is here. Our chief business official for the district, Tom Cox, is here. And John Hartenstein, an expert in bond and tax matters, is here, who's helped us get to this point to resolve some of these issues. This has definitely been an effort of, by, and for the people, and you're going to hear from the students, their parents, et cetera, now that have really been behind this grassroots effort that the staff has tried to support over the past 3 years. And thank you for your consideration.
You know, it's something that Dr. Brand was an actual student of the Weisburn School District. And that shows, I hope, a sense of community. Even some of our teachers live in our area, our Weisburn area. And I think that one thing that our PTA supports us, you have letters in your packets that show all our PTAs support us. Also in your packet, you have all the school site councils support us. What we have is an issue of API scores in Centinela Valley. Weisburn has 700, the recent ones are API of 749. We have 49% of our children are proficient or better in English, and 44% in math. In Centinela Valley, they are 29% proficient in English, and in math, they're 24%. I want the best for my child or children, and we are very concerned about how things have been ran. We actually considered going through the charter schools. And Reed Hastings, I know you might be interested, and Don Fisher. And also you too, Glee, and Jonathan. We actually considered it because in it, we figured it was the most easiest way to go. But as we worked through the process, and time after time, we all tried to interact with Centinela Valley, it was just a no-go. When you go to meetings, they don't have a regular meeting. They always have emergency meetings. It's on the fly. You hear it by word of mouth. They would post the agendas on the window of the school district window, but by the way, there's no access to it because there's a fence. And you have to go to Best Buy and look in binoculars to see it through the glass. It's not posted on the website or some way of access. So we considered the charter schools very much, but we found out the only way for us to achieve a continuing K through 12 articulation of education policy was to go with the 25% petition. And that's what we have done. I was asked by Suzanne during a break, is what was the population of our voters? I looked in the database for you that I have. It's a little outdated, but the point is it's still current. And it doesn't identify parents. In our community, we have grandparents who are now raising the grandchildren. We have young people with us who are parents. But from the ages of 18 through 29 is 11% of the voters. This is just Wiseburn. Between the ages of 30 and 41, we have 15%. Between the ages of 42 to 53, we're 33%. Ages of 54 to 65, 16%. And from 66 to 77, 9%. The rest is 5%, and we got two people, 112, so I don't know about that statistic. But what we're going to request is what we call a small area election. Because there's 49,000 voters, registered voters, in Centinela Valley. We're only 6,445. If you look at the ratio, for everyone that votes in Wiseburn, there are 6 Centinela Valley voters. It's a 1 to 6. And anything more than a small area election would be sure death to this unification effort. We've tried to abridge any type of concerns because we actually had the belief that the bond and paying on Measure C, that's what we call it, and paying on that would alleviate any financial problems. As some of the community people said in the hearings that we had for it, is that Measure C, if we unify, we can still pay it, but if we don't unify, we're still going to pay it. So with that, if Lydia was here, and she could be, I know she wants to be here, she would say to allow us to unify and we'll continue to pay on that bond. One way to think about that bond, if it was a facility as an asset, you have an asset and there's different types of assets. You have assets that are very liquid, you have inventory type, and then of course you have facilities. We have no facilities. And we're willing to give part of our liquid asset to Centinela Valley because we did vote for it. We did say that we wanted to improve Centinela Valley. You're going to hear arguments on the other side. And just in closing, in this document, Exhibit 2 that you've received just over the weekend, about future proposals. And in closing, I would just like to say that Centinela Valley just tried to pass a $76 million bond a month ago. And in your packet were the community, not just Wiseburn, but Lawndale, Hawthorne, Inglewood, all rose up against them because there can be better financial management. And all these things that you see in Exhibit 2 were supposed to be done under Measure C, like building more classrooms, facilities, fixing the plumbing, drainage problems. But they've built things that weren't necessarily needed to educate our children. And that's what this is all about, educating our children. I know I can only speak for the children of Wiseburn. Our next speaker will be Rosie Connell-O'Donnell.
Good morning. Distinguished members of the California State Board of Education, I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand before you today, not as a chief petitioner for Citizens for Wiseburn United School District, but as Ryan, Michael, and Joseph's mother. My name is Rosie Marie Connor O'Donnell, and I speak to you on behalf of my 3 sons, all students of the Wiseburn School District, their friends, and their fellow students, because honestly, that's the real purpose of being here today. It's the purpose of our 3-year plight. It's our kids. We are a community united around our schools and dedicated to promoting excellent quality education for our children. I know this because I'm actively involved with the PTA, and I see parents of all different colors, races, ethnic backgrounds, and economic means coming together to make the schools better for our children. I know this because I volunteer in the classrooms, and I see parents with limited English skills in the classrooms giving what they can to make it a better learning environment for our children. I know this because I sit on the school site council, where parents, teachers, and administrators alike share their concerns for better education for our children. No, Wiseburn is not utopia, but there is a difference. Wiseburn provides an environment where students feel safe. Wiseburn schools maintain an environment where student excellence in learning is promoted and is expected. Wiseburn also offers an environment where appropriate parent involvement is encouraged and welcomed. Wiseburn has an outstanding combination of factors that make it superior. This harmonic blending doesn't happen in all districts. I can say this because I'm a transplant to Wiseburn. I've been in areas where I've chosen to pull my children out of public schools because the quality of education was not what it should be. I say this to you only so you understand how strongly I feel about education. I'd like to share a little story with you about my son's high school experience. Ryan is my oldest son. He just turned 14. And he was a member of the Dana Middle School class of 2004. That means he's a 9th grader this fall. Ryan is very bright, and he's looking forward to a career in the sciences. However, like many of his Dana classmates, he is not looking forward to attending high school in Centinela Valley. The day I went to register him at Hawthorne High School, there were 8 Hawthorne Police Department cars in the school's drive. I was detained at the entry gates for 15 minutes with no explanation. After the delay, I was still unable to register my son for school. The saga continues. Since I'm a working parent, my children require childcare. I applied for an intra-district permit so that Ryan could have after-school care with a family friend who is a teacher, because I have concerns about his first year of high school. Well, Centinela Valley denied my permit, so I applied for an appeal. During the appeal, the reviewer spent more time trying to convince me about the greatness of Hawthorne High School than they did actually addressing my concerns regarding the permit. A few days later, I received a letter in the mail, request denied. So I had to take my plight to the LA County Office of Education. Though I prevailed at the Office of Education, this was August, and by the time I actually received my permit, the school that we had chosen to send Ryan to for high school was full. And now my situation is Ryan doesn't have a high school. And so I'm considering the options, and I'm considering homeschooling because I want the best for my son. And please know that Ryan's story is not an isolated one. This happens a lot. No matter what the reason for the permit request, even though Hawthorne is a PI school, Centinela Valley makes it nearly impossible for students to transfer out of the district to non-PI schools. Now, you will hear many things said today from the opposition about why we want to unify the Wiseburn School District. However, I hope you remember one thing: the children. And in my case, 3 things: Ryan, Michael, and Joseph. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sheila LaCour. I'm an 8th grade teacher in Dana Middle School, which is in Wiseburn. I am also here to represent the Wiseburn Faculty Association, which is our chapter of California Teachers Association. Thirdly, I'm here to represent as a parent of an 8th grade student. I wear many hats within our community. Wiseburn is unique in the fact that I do not stand alone as being a teacher, an active member in the community, and a parent. What I have with me today is a petition from the teachers of Wiseburn Faculty Association, as was written as early as yesterday. It is of all of our teachers, 100% of our teachers have written a petition, signed the petition, in favor of our chief petitioner's request for unification. The teachers want what's best for our students, and we feel self-control is what's best for our students. To be able to have that articulation, K through 12, to make sure the standards that we have set, K through 8, continue through the high school. Personally, as a parent, I am greatly concerned where I will send my son next year. Centinela Valley is not an option for me. And next year, at this time, I will be in the same position that Rosie was in. Where am I going to put my 9th grader, and what high school? I am in hopes your decisions today will help me make my decision this time next year. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Richard Fuentes. I'm a Lusinger High School graduate in Centinela Valley Union High School District. I don't live in Wiseburn. I live in El Camino Village. It's right next to Lawndale. And I went to the district myself, but I want to share my story with this board today. I achieved academic success with honors in AVID, Advanced Via Individual Determination Program, and the MCA, the Multimedia Careers Academy. I was an AVID student for 4 years. This program provided me with SAT preparation and enrollment in UC courses, with tutoring available with college students as well. When I graduated from Lusinger High School, I thought I had received an excellent education. But little did I know that Centinela's education was below state average. During my freshman year at San Diego State University, my friends and I found out that we only qualified for remedial courses. That didn't count towards our degree and caused our academic career to extend an additional year. At San Diego State University, I noticed that most students had a vigorous high school curriculum that enabled them to succeed in their college courses. Well, my friends and myself couldn't handle the course load, and a lot of us had to go ahead and leave San Diego State because we either had to transfer or we were going to get kicked out from the university because we didn't pass remedial courses. We weren't capable of doing the work because Centinela didn't prepare us well. Fortunately, I was able to pass the course, but I decided to transfer to Marymount College in Rancho Palos Verdes. I'm here today because I want to see a Wiseburn unification, because I believe it's the process that the community and those students deserve to have a high school, deserve to get a good education, because I know I didn't at Centinela. I love Lusinger High School. I just don't love the education I received there. And I know the same thing is happening over and over again, not only with my friends, but with other students as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Rocha, and this is my dad.
Javier Rocha.
I am a current student at El Segundo High School, and I am a sophomore there. I'm here to tell you that I was not able to go to El Segundo High School because I don't live in that area. I had to get a permit, and my parents and I had to go through a long process in order to get released from Sentinel Valley. The reason I am attending El Segundo High School is because I want to become an Air Force pilot, and in order for me to become an Air Force pilot, I have to join the Air Force Academy. And I knew that if I would have been in a Sentinel Valley high school, that I wouldn't have gotten the proper education that I needed in order to have the life or the job, career that I wanted as an Air Force pilot. Also, I did some research when I was getting released from Sentinel Valley, and there were 2 classes that El Segundo High School did offer, and Sentinel Valley High schools did not offer. Those classes were meteorology and aerospace education. And I knew that I have a well-prepared staff there at El Segundo High School, and that they teach me what I need to know and exceed that standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, distinguished members of the board. My name is Ryan Connor, a recent graduate from Dana Middle School and a student at Wiseburn School District since the 4th grade. I come before you today to ask you to consider providing us with a new high school. While the Sentinel Valley School District does its best to maintain an adequate high school, overcrowding has created a serious situation. Overcrowding not only affects the quality of education, but it limits the ability of students to participate in certain classes and extracurricular activities. The Sentinel Valley School District is also unsafe. A good friend of mine while at Hawthorne High School was attacked by several football players. His injuries were so serious he needed surgery. Although there are good schools nearby, it is a long and strenuous process to get a permit. Sentinel Valley almost always turns down permit requests. I should know. Sentinel Valley turned me down, and I had to wait several months to appeal to the county board. By the time it was approval, I was deep on the waiting list for El Segundo, and still am. Thank you for your time and attention to this concern. I hope my speech helped influence your vote for our well-needed and well-deserved high school.
Good morning. My name is Steven Rodriguez, and this is my mom, Sandra Rodriguez. I'm a current 7th grader at Dana Middle School. I have been attending Wiseburn School since the 1st grade. Throughout the time I have been at Wiseburn, I have learned that Wiseburn isn't only a great district, it is an excellent and safe environment for the children and adults as well. And like any other student looking forward to going to high school, we have expectations that must be met in order to become successful. I'm here to let all of you know that we as students deserve to go to a healthy school environment, an environment without drugs, gangs, crimes, and away from all the harmful things that pollute the Hawthorne and Sentinel Valley High Schools. And personally, I have a brother, and I don't want him to join any of that stuff. We don't think it is fair to let our family, friends, and neighbors move away to different areas or even states just because the Hawthorne and Sentinel Valley High Schools don't meet the education and safety standards. We might not understand wars between countries. We might not understand confrontation between political parties. What we do know is that we need now weapons to educate ourselves, to become better people, better humans, and better yet, good citizens of this great nation. Give us the opportunity to take care of our own high school. Ladies and gentlemen, I will come home today certain that our voices have been heard. Thank you for your attention and consideration, and for giving me and us the opportunity to be here today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Bergas, and I am accompanied with my mother, Cynthia Bergas. And I have been an honor roll and A student throughout my whole grade school, and I plan to go to medical school for college. And during my 5th grade year, my teacher realized that I have very high potential for myself. And so he recommended me to Dana, since Dana has been having a good reputation not only in the Hawthorne School District, but also to other districts like Inglewood. And so me and my mother decided to give Dana a try for my first year. And instantly I loved Dana right then and there. It not only provided me a good environment of education and teachers and staff, it also gave me the boost of confidence I needed to stay in Wiseburn. And now as a 7th grader, I think about what will happen to me during my high school years, on what high school I might go to. And I can either go to maybe Centinela High School or Hawthorne High School, but from other students, I have heard very bad reputation because of the crime, the lack of education the students have been receiving, the gang-related issues, and also the problem with, trying to get a permit there. And I think that Wiseburn deserves a high school because it is a great district, and I know that students deserve to have a great high school because this will prepare them for the person they're gonna be for the rest of their life. And it will be also a great relief for the parents and students to trust a good high school. Thank you.
We're going to reserve our time for any rebuttal, and we do have the technical team available to answer any questions that you might have. So we want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Call for comments from the opponents, please, for 30 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cheryl White. I'm the new superintendent of Centinela Valley Union High School District, and I am here to voice our strong opposition to the unification proposal of the Wiseburn School District. At this time, I would like to introduce the people who are here with me in support of our opposition, and then I will give concluding remarks at the end of their remarks. First, I'd like to introduce our board president, Mrs. Maria Calix, who is, in addition to our board president, a mother of graduates of Hawthorne High School. One of our board members, Mrs. Jean D. Simone, who is our longtime board member. She is also the president of Hawthorne Elementary Classified Organization, which is included with the American Federation of Teachers and AFL-CIO. But probably most importantly, she is the mother of 3 graduates of Lusinger High School, one with a PhD in microbiology and one with a JD. I also would like to introduce Bob Weiler, president of our California Teachers Association, Michael McBride, vice president of our Teachers Association, Frank Talavera, president of our Classified Association, CSEA, Marguerite Sturges, vice president of our Classified Association, CSEA, Mr. Don Carrington, superintendent of Hawthorne Elementary District, our largest feeder district that feeds into the Centinela Valley, Mr. Hugo Rojas, who is vice president of the Hawthorne Elementary School District Board of Education, also a Lusinger High School graduate, Darlene Love, who is a grandmother of a Hawthorne High School student on the Civil Service Commission in Hawthorne, and also president of the Women's Club in Hawthorne, which is 127 members strong. In addition to that, we're really delighted to have Mr. James Westbrooks here with us today, who is representing Mr. Ed Vincent's office, who is in support of our opposition, and I'm proud to say that Mr. Westbrooks is also a graduate of Hawthorne High School. In addition, we have our legal counsel with us from Burke William Sorensen, Ms. Natasha Sani, and Mr. Dan Wright, and I will turn it over to our legal counsel right now, and they will address the legal issues. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Daniel Wright of Burke Williams and Sorensen, legal counsel to Centinela. We'll be passing around an outline of our presentation because, as you might begin to have gotten a sense during the process leading up to this meeting, there are a number of sticky issues that your staff has dealt with, I think with a lot of hard effort, and that we have attempted to deal with and point out to them as well.